Hello everyone. Today we have Pre-Calc Lesson 91, Geometric Progressions. I'm going to remind you real quick of arithmetic progressions. That was where we had the equation a sub n is a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. Right? A sub 1 was our first term. A sub n is our nth term. N is that number of terms, and D was the common difference. Okay, what we are going to do now, slightly different, geometric progression. The equation we will have now is a sub n is a sub 1 r raised to the n minus 1. Okay, a sub n is still the nth term. A sub 1 is still our first term. R is our common ratio. Okay, and here's an important thing. If R is negative, so less than 0, the terms will alternate signs. They'll go from positive, negative, positive, negative. Okay? This is going to be very similar to how we solved it last time, so let's get into an example. Okay, we want to find the fifth term in a geometric sequence whose first term is negative 2 and whose common ratio is negative 3. Okay, so we want to find the fifth term. Okay, so we are going to have a sub 5 is going to be a sub 1 r to the 5 minus 1. Okay, a sub 5, my first term is negative 2. And my common ratio is negative 3 to the 5 minus 1. So this gives me negative 2 times negative 3 to the 4. Okay, and negative 3 to the 4 times negative 2, this gives me negative 162. Okay, now we notice that our common ratio is negative, right? So what this means for us is we don't change the sign or anything, but we know that we're going to go positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, right? If we were to find all 5 terms. With just the fifth term, we don't have to worry about that. Okay, let's do some more examples. Find 3 geometric means between 4 and 64. Okay, so what this is telling me is my first term is 4, then I'll have 2, 3, 4. These are my 3 geometric terms. My fifth term is 64. Okay, now my fifth term, right, a sub 5 is a sub 1 r to the 5 minus 1, or a sub 5 is a sub 1 r to the 4. Okay, now I know that my a1 is 4, and I know that my a5 is 64, so I can say 64 is 4 r to the 4th. Okay, so 64 divided by 4, I get 16 is r to the 4th. Now, if you didn't have this memorized, we would raise both sides to the 1/4, which makes this become 1, and 16 raised to the 1/4 should give you, right, 2. Okay, so r is 2. My common ratio is 2. So then I want to find a sub 2 is a sub 1 r to the 1, a sub 3 is a sub 1 r to the 2, and a sub 4 is a sub 1 r to the 3. So a sub 2, I will have 4 times 2 to the 1, a sub 3, I will have 4 times 2 squared. A sub 4, I will have 4 times 2 cubed. So 4 times 2 gives me 8, 4 times 4 gives me 16, and 4 times 8 gives me 32. Okay? Now, let's just say if r was negative 2. It's not, but if it was, then what we would have here, my first term would be 4, so then I would have negative 8, positive 16, negative 32. Right? That is how my signs would be changed. Okay? All right, let's do another example. Find two geometric means between 2 and 1/4. So that means A1 is 2. We're looking for A2, A3, and we know that A4 is 1/4. So we need to find our common ratio. A4 is A1 times R cubed, right? And I know this equals 1/4. So I divide both sides by 2, giving me R cubed is 1/8. Now, again, you could raise everything to the 1/3 power to be able to solve for R, or you could just know that R is 1/2. Okay? So, if that's true, I know that A2 is going to be A1R to the 1, and A3 is A1R squared. So I will have A2 is 2 times 1/2, which is 1, and A3 is going to be 2 times 1/2 squared, which is 1/2. So my terms will be 1 and 1/2. Okay? Doesn't matter if we have a fraction. All right, let's do another one. Find 3 geometric means between negative 16 and negative 1. So, A1, we have negative 16. We're looking for A2, A3, and A4. A5 is negative 1. Now I know that A2 is A1R to the 1, A3 is A1R squared, and A4 is A1R cubed. Now I need to find A1, so A to the 5 is I need to find my R. A1 times R to the 4th, and that equals negative 1. Divide everything by negative 16, so I get R to the 4th is 1/16, which tells me that R is 1/2. Okay, now, here's an interesting thing, okay, that I need to clarify in another problem. Since we are taking the 4th root, R could be plus or minus 1/2. Okay? Plus or minus is really important because if we are taking an even root of something, we can have plus or minus. So we have two cases, and I showed that for a different problem, right? Our first case is R is 1/2. Then I will get A2 is negative 16 times 1/2 to the 1, which is negative 8. A3 is negative 16 times 1/2 squared, which is negative 4. And A to the 4th is negative 16 times 1/2 cubed, which is negative 2. Okay, so I'll have negative 8, negative 4, and negative 2. Now I have to look at the other case. Both of these are your answers when R is negative 1/2. My signs will change, right? Instead of being negative 8, I will have positive 8, negative 4, positive 2. Now I know that this is true because my first term is negative and my signs alternate. Okay, so let's look back at this example. I showed you both cases. If R was positive 2, if R was negative 2, you do include the negative 2 as your answer as well. Positive, negative, because R is plus or minus 2. This is really key. So in this example as well, r is plus or minus 1/2. So we have to show the positive 1/2 and we have to show the negative 1/2. All right, that is all for today. I hope that you were able to get everything else done tonight.